Welcome everybody, this is SF Live, episode 6. Today I'm joined by Marcio Fonseca of GR Silver Mining. We're going to be talking about what's going on in Mexico. GR Silver just released some sample results this morning, ultra high grade, 6.1 kilos. We're going to be talking about that, plans moving forward. GR Silver just bought Plomosas from First Majestic Silver, and we're also going to talk about the future and the next steps for the company. Before we get started, and I'm going to get Marcio here on the phone or on the line, as a quick reminder, most of you are used to it now. This is supposed to be a live and very interactive session with Marcio, so please use hashtag AskGRSL for your questions here on Twitter. We're going to ask every single one of them, and we're going to make sure you get the answers you're looking for. So please join me now in welcoming Marcio to the show here. Marcio, thanks for coming on. Good morning, and I hope you're doing well.
Thank you very much for having me today.
Marcio, we're fairly close distance-wise, geographically, but we couldn't be further apart right now. How are you doing? How are you holding up?
Yeah, like following all the guidelines, working from home, but we didn't stop working in Canada. Everybody's working from home and continue the business.
Continuing the business.
As I said, just bought a project. 500 you work a lot of that data now.
Exactly. So you're not sitting on your hands. You're working. You're actually wearing a suit at home, so I'm quite impressed. It seems like you haven't given up like me on shaving as well. So
yeah,
so
getting ready.
No, it's like a couple more weeks. I'm still debating. I haven't made up my mind. I said it earlier this week whether I should keep this as my self-isolation beard and only trim it when this is over. But it might be a while, so I might have to trim it earlier sometime next week. But coming back to GR Silver, you put out some results this morning. We're going to talk about those in a minute. But first, I want to talk about what's going on in Mexico. Investors need to know how you're approaching the topic because Mexico pretty much shut down everything that's non-essential, right? How is that affecting the industry? Like Mexico is the #1 silver producer in the world, obviously. Fortunately, you're not a producer, so there's a bit of a way for you to move forward.
For sure. We've been following all the guidance from the health authorities in Mexico, in Canada as well. And so far, what we have applied just to people to avoid all the agglomeration of people at the office in Rosario. They are working at their individual offices. Most of them live nearby, so there's no need to stop their activities at the office. And as you've been to the site, you know, São Marcial is not really close to the city. It's kind of remote, so isolated. So the impact of the potential virus and pandemic there is very small, knowing that most of the workers on site are people who live nearby, and they work probably 1 or 2 in the field. We don't need to really interrupt the activities. Even the drilling that we are doing, portable drill holes, that 2 people can manage the drill rig, that's really manageable in the current environment.
Okay, so that's important because you're still moving along. You said you've extended the underground tunnel at San Marcial as well, right?
Yes, the underground tunnel has been in progress since 40 days ago. You have a local contractor, again, a small company, 2-3 people working on site with equipment. We are 2/3 of the development, aiming to be by the mid of this month at the site where we can place a drill rig to start drilling underground.
Okay, perfect. You've recently completed the acquisition of Plomosas, right? So in terms of COVID-19, there's not, and it just started snowing out here. That's crazy. And in terms of COVID, you're not seeing any delays. My point is you just acquired Plomosas. You acquired a lot of data from the company that you're going through right now that you don't need to be in the field necessarily to verify. So maybe you just give us an update on that and if you expect any delays or how is the communication going in between the team members?
Communication is very good. We have full radio and internet is going to be upgraded in the next couple of weeks from the site to the offices. I believe people would realize that Plomosas is a big project. We have a camp for 120 people. And now we have probably 15 people working there. So you can see that there's space for people to have a lot of distance. Yeah. And it's 8,500 hectares, 16 targets. People can work in their targets and not really being together. And how important is Plomosas is because, like I said, the amount of data, drilling data, close to 100,000 meters of drilling that we do not need to drill, saving capital. And most of them, we have a composition of recent and historical. And as I disclosed before to the public, none of these holes have ever been released. And we are planning to release most of them. And some of them, I believe, they are high-grade gold and high-grade silver.
What?
which is
Just give us a little more background. Like you acquired the project from First Majestic, but why have they never released it? Like, are they
uh,
hiding something?
it's a really great question. Everybody keep asking me. I think every company has their own strategy about what can be material for a company or
Yep.
not. It's a $1 billion market cap company. That's First Majestic. Maybe is my guess. They wouldn't think a drill hole that have kilos of silver and a cup of 10 grams per ton of gold would really make a change in the market cap. But GR Silver is a company that's $16 million market cap, looking to multiply that. And if you are able to show that we have not only the polymetallic traditional Plomosas mineralization, but also high-grade gold silver, similar to other low sulfidation deposits such as La Chispa, San Dimas, I think it's going to be very material for this company.
Interesting. And like you put out some first channel sample results this morning to show that you have the high grade intersections. Do you want to give us just a quick update on that?
Yep. The news release that went out this morning is one of the 6 areas that we have drill holes. What we did, we went to an underground tunnel. It's not a mine. The area San Juan is just an area that was developed by Grupo Mexico, but they never mined it. And we sampled all the way along the first level of the tunnel, every 5, 10 meters apart channels. And we today believe that there's a vein breccia that carries a lot of silver with some credits of gold and lead and zinc.
Okay. So
But but important to say that's the first level. We are taking the water now to go to the second level to continue to do the work.
okay. Has First Majestic done any follow up in terms of drilling that or following up those channel samples with drilling?
Yes, the San Juan target itself has approximately 100 drill holes. I would
Okay.
say 20 of those are First Majestic, and we are going to start releasing next week some of those.
Okay. We've been talking about the relationship between GRSL or GRSL, GR Silver, and First Majestic. So they came in for 19.9% during the transaction, and my question was, what's their plan moving forward? They usually don't do those type of transactions where they come in. So will they stay pro rata? Will they participate in future financings? And you were just about to give us some more color on that.
For sure. The relationship with First Majestic, as I said before, goes back to early 2015 when I was one of the key architects to the transaction selling Silvercrest mines, the Santa Elena mine, and the Ermitaño project to First Majestic in Sonora, in Mexico. And I was involved evaluating all the assets from First Majestic, got close to the key people at First Majestic. When we bought the San Marcial, they've been watching us on how successful and cost effective we've been about to delineate resources in a very cost effective way. We increased the resource at San Marcial 60%. And as part of the negotiation, is part of the documentation and the agreements that they are not going to take a board seat.
Okay.
I think it's a good faith in what we are doing. Uh, in about participation pro rata, they have a material position in the company. Of course, every time if I'm going to do a finance in the future, I'm going to go and explain to them what we are going to do and using.
Yeah.
It's going to be up to them to maintain or not. And the simple situation that we pay them 100,000 Canadian dollars, 70.7 million shares, gave a royalty of 2% for the asset, and they gave us a buyback for 1%, pay 1 million. It's a great vote of confidence because we are buying an asset that has more than 50 million US dollars of investment.
Yeah.
So if you do the calculation, close paying 10% of the value that's there on site.
Yeah, no, that's a tremendous value, and I really like the vote of confidence there. Just on the background of the transaction, so they didn't see Plomosas as strategic for them, or too far advanced from too far away from production for them, or any rationale behind
Uh,
that?
my interpretation is that it became a non-core asset since they bought San Dimas,
Yeah.
which is 200 kilometers to the north. But interesting to say that San Dimas, in our opinion, has a very similar geology as Plomosas. The only difference is that Plomosas data hasn't been integrated enough and evaluated enough to bring that potential alive.
Okay. No, and
So
of course, Corona now allowing sort of the opportunity, and I think that's a really positive because a lot of teams like what you're doing now is reevaluating the data that you have, but Corona allows you to do that probably even more focused because you will have probably less drilling data and other data coming in, so you can really focus on the 530 drill holes. And I think I asked you before, but those 530 holes that you recovered or got within with the transaction, are those all 43101 compliant?
It's the plus 500 holes is a mix of historical and recent. The recent ones were drilled in 2016, 2017, and 2018, so they
Fantastic.
are fully compliant with the whole chain of custody. So the idea is to integrate those recent with some historical and validate, and maybe you might do one or a couple of validation drill holes, but bring an external consultant, and for each one of the 6 areas, on average, each area might have close to 100 drill holes. No,
Hmm.
so we can go forward the next couple of months to start doing resource estimation. Maybe the first one is going to be the San Juan that we put a news release today with the high grade silver, kilos of silver. And then
Kilos of
after
silver.
that,
That's like I was just looking at the Twitter stream here on the other screen. I was like, I heard high grade of silver, and I was like, oh, okay.
and Plomosas, it's important to say to everybody that's watching that presentation here, was a small mine, only 250 meters deep. We have 100 drill holes around with different level of results, high grade, low grade, but wide ore body. And think about that mine operated until 2001. And the commodity price that they used to define what was mineable those years was $290 per ounce of gold,
Yep.
$5 per ounce of silver.
So
So you can
there's
see
a
compare with today.
so
Although costs have been going up, but the incremental of the commodity price is a major effect as well to really define a large deposit there.
No, fantastic. And we're going to switch over to the Twitter stream now and see if any questions have come in. So we retweeted, obviously, that we were back live here. So you can't see the questions, but people can see it in the
Okay.
live stream on the right-hand side. So use hashtag AskGRSL. We're going to be here for a couple minutes on this slide and just go through this while Marcia gives us an update on. Now you put out the channel results, but give us an update on the news flow that you expect coming out of this now and the transaction.
The news flow is going to be a mix of results from Plomosas now and San Marcial because, as we said, discussed at the beginning, we are doing the underground development. We didn't stop. We are drilling on surface and portable and more deep drill holes. And with the holes that we are validating every week, we might have a couple of drill holes from Plomosas coming. We are anticipating some results next week from San Juan, and then next week might have some results from Plomosas, and we start delivering every 1 week basis some updates on drill holes or exploration. Exploration is not early stage exploration, is drilling.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Like, because the drill holes, like they were drilled in 16, 17, and 18, those were roughly 130 drill holes, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that would be a lot of data to go through, and they'll keep the news flow
So
quite busy.
think
So
about you have probably 4 or 5 drill holes every week. How many weeks you can release?
exactly. Wow. No, that is impressive. That is impressive, and congrats on that acquisition. I'm just double checking here on Twitter if any questions have come in. So far, no questions. So that's fine because I think we've covered most of the important topics. News flow. Moving forward, the relationship with First Majestic, the transaction, the channel results today. I think you're on a tremendous path here moving forward. And since you're not a producer, you're not as hit as hard as some of the other companies in Mexico. And I was just looking at the Canaccord tracker, like they put out a COVID-19 impact tracker every day with mine closings. So just looking at Endeavor Silver, Pan American, Newmont, all closing down operations or trying to ramp down because as we discussed off camera before, those are all massive 100 people and bigger operations, and it's
Yeah,
impossible to keep your physical distance there.
for sure. And important to say, Kai, that the other point about Plomosas is it's fully permit
That's
up to production if you decide to do it.
yeah, no,
That saves a
that's
lot of
important.
time and money.
That time and money. And I've been to Plomosas, or not Plomosas, but San Marcial, and we saw the infrastructure going to the projects as well. So there's a power line and everything is there. So that's really key. Marcio, just since we didn't have any questions come in, like I'll give you a chance just to wrap this up real quick. I think we talked about news flow coming up. That's usually a good point to end things on. Anything investors should take away from this now?
Uh, I think I covered most of the key points, but in a snapshot here, this is not an early stage exploration company, it's resource expansion. We are moving from one target to more six zones that have drill holes, and we are going to put resource there. So the level of risk for increasing the inventory of ounces in this company is very low. We are working areas with permits. They are not really far away apart. They are contiguous, the concessions, we can integrate them. And the company, since the last financing last year, we brought a lot of really five-star blue chip type of resource funds to be key shareholders in the company that provide a good support. And like you said, having First Majestic as a big shareholder is a vote of confidence, I believe, and can provide some future access to capital if we decide to, if they see how successful we can be to increase the size of the project.
No, fantastic. And key shareholders are obviously important as well because you're an exploration company. You will have to raise money down the road. So I'm happy to hear that. Marcio, thanks for taking the time. Again, like this tweet live stream will be available for review and replay anytime. And Marcio, stay safe, wash your hands, and
You
we'll
too.
talk very
Thank you.
soon.
You
Take
say.
care.
Take
Bye
care.
bye.
Bye.